again, and welcome, neighbors, to this first day of March. Beautiful, beautiful early afternoon in the Sitgreave. No, I'm sorry, not in the Sitgreaves. I'm in the Tonto National Forest today. Little cool, little breezy. Hopefully it doesn't affect our sound too much. But it is really a glorious day. And I'm so glad, let me get around here. So glad you're with me. Glad to be with you, take you along with me on this wonderful walk through the forest. We're not too far from civilization, but we could be 1,000 miles. I was walking up this trail today, and just about a mile back, we'd just gotten started. It said that it's 31.3 miles. That's a pretty good looking, pretty good long walk. We're not going to go 31 miles each way. I don't plan on hiking over 60 miles today, but it's a great day for it. And I never get tired of being out here where everything you see is made by God, not by people, and was here long before any people were here at all. Again, to remind you of my own convictions, God is not here any more than he's in an apartment building in Minneapolis or a concert hall in New York City or a movie theater in Phoenix. But it's good to come out to places like this because there are less human distractions. So although he's not here in any greater measure, being here gives me the opportunity to sense his presence more readily and more directly. And of course that segues, I'm always looking for a good segue, that segues into the presence of God. Being wherever you or I am. Wherever you are or I am is the presence of God, because Jesus was clear when he said the kingdom, the reign, the rule, the presence of God is within you. Now, our problem is that we don't really believe that. That is to say we believe it, but we tend to look for God's presence outside of me. And it doesn't work. You can look all you want, but what you're going to get is sensory, experiential, but not God, not reality, if you're not looking within, carefully looking and observing within. Now that's one of my major issues with what the public church teaches us. The public church has only added to the foolishness of the secular society in pretty much persuading the American Christian that God is to be found outward. You say, oh, what do you mean? Well, take the issue of church attendance. Even though Jesus clearly said in the Gospel of John, 4th chapter, that true worshipers will no longer worship God from mountaintops or in buildings, that true worshipers will worship God in spirit and in truth. We don't quite buy it. We say we buy it, but we don't quite buy it. And the reason we don't quite buy it is because the church doesn't teach it. The church teaches, rather, that God is actually waiting for us on Sunday morning to get to church. And in fact, he is not. He's not waiting for you to get anywhere. He's waiting for you to discover him within you. And it's the church that has taught us that God, wants us to be at church. Why would God want us to be at church? Why? Say, well, Hebrews teaches, don't forsake the gathering of yourselves together. Yeah, great. Hang out with people of like-minded, like-spirited devotions. But Hebrews did not say, make sure you go to church every Sunday morning and listen to a 30 to 60-minute lecture and put money in the plate and be told that you need to come back next week or in the middle of the week, and you need to come to prayer meeting, and you need to come to this, that, and the other thing, Sunday school. Nothing says that. Nothing of the kind is in the Bible. But the church teaches it because the church, for the last 1,700 years, has been on a mission, and that mission is to perpetuate itself. Now, understand me. I was a church pastor for 35 or so years. And I don't regret that exactly. I mean, God uses everything. And I have no brief or complaint or any kind of judgment against anyone, past or present, pastor or parishioner or follower. It's not the issue. It's not about people and being a judge of people. It's about somebody saying the system is severely corrupt. It doesn't reflect the teaching of the New Testament, either Jesus' teachings or Paul's or any other New Testament writers. And, if you happen to be someone who was part of a church that I pastored for a while, and in any way were blessed or helped or whatever, because a few people, not that many, but a few have said, gosh, it was great, having you as my pastor, and I miss your teaching, etc., etc. And I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. Thank you for that. And I bless you either way. Even if you hated my teaching, I bless you. Even if you came to church and left after the first service, I bless you. Having said that, I could have done you a much greater service if I had recognized years and years earlier that I was in some measure wasting all of our time. If I'd have spent more time directing you within yourself and less time telling you what I thought you should believe and that you should come back to church, etc., I would have done you a much greater service. And if I had it to do over again, that's what I would do. And interestingly enough, and I've told this to people directly, maybe you've heard me say it, maybe not, but interestingly enough, my dog just barked and growled at something out there. The woods are lovely, but the woods have lots of hiding places, and we find bear and other critter tracks and all kinds of stuff around here. And that's okay, not afraid, but it's interesting. We put bells on our dog's harness to make sure all the critters heard him coming. Nobody's surprised. He's wandering around down this hill somewhere. So I would have done you a greater service if I'd have turned you within. And as I was saying, I thought I would never be able to leave the church because I started the church and I had this big guilt complex about the shepherd abandoning his flock and all of that stuff. At the end, they wanted me to go, and I couldn't believe it. Really? You promise you mean I can leave? And the reason they wanted me to go is because I started being unable to teach the company line, not theologically, but I began teaching structurally that this way we were doing church had nothing at all to do with the New Testament, and that we needed to spread the wealth around, so to speak, get a lot of people teaching, give up my salary, quit taking money, become truly a closer, not completely, of course, but a closer facsimile to a New Testament gathering of believers. Well, that freaked most people out. The older people, the people who thought they had sway because they gave the money, that freaked them out. And it wasn't long before I found out that I didn't need to worry about going. They wanted me to, and I was happy to. No harm, no foul, no bad opinions of anybody. I'm sure some have a bad opinion of me because I did kind of freak out theologically and structurally at the end, but that's only because I couldn't keep declaring the company line. So again, if you were ever part of the church I pastored, thank God for you. Whether you like me or not, I bless you, I thank you, and if I helped you in any way, I'm grateful, and I don't regret it. I could have helped you more, though, if I'd known better at the time. This is just lovely, isn't it? I'm going to stand up and get a little bit more of a 360. Up this way, you can see the top of the rim, White Mountain. We're on the edge of White Mountain. And just down the hill from the Mogollon Rim, Mogollon being an Indian, a Native American word meaning mesa, large plateau. And at the top of the rim where I live is about a 100-mile stretch of flatland right on the edge of the rim with a bunch of small towns linking along. And it's a lovely place to live. We're down here, though, because it's 2,000 feet higher, and it's really cold up there right now, although it's sunny and beautiful. And as it warms up, we'll stay more up there in our hiking. Down here, it's better for the climate right now, being, again, the 1st of March, pretty much the middle of winter. Although, what is it, first day of spring, March 21st? Wait a minute, we're past the middle of winter. We're almost to spring. This is awesome. There's the trail. Came up this trail, and this trail goes on up the hill, on up for 31 miles. How would you like a 31-mile hike up in here? If I had a safe place to sleep, warm place to sleep, I might not mind it at all. I mean, look at this dead tree right here. Even in death, there's such a beauty. It's so beautiful. So, if you've been churched, like I was, you have a long history of being conditioned by the church to believe that the church is God's gold standard approved doorway to his presence. And it is not. It is, in my opinion, the church, the institutional public church, it is the greatest single preventative and hindrance to the experiencing of God in the history of our American culture. And it's not even that interesting unless it's a huge big box church and has lots of good entertainment. Then the husbands will mostly be okay with it. But other than that, you'll notice the church never has services during the Super Bowl because it can't compete. You have to be guilted in, pretty much, G-U-I-L-T-E-D, guilted in order to be a regular attender, or dragged in mostly by a wife or a girlfriend. And any guy that's being dragged in by a girlfriend has other intentions besides the church's offerings of religious piety. So you have a lot of stuff to think about if you're churched in terms of the presence of God. As I say, you can think about what I've said or not think about it at all, or check in the garbage can of your mind. That is in the garbage can out of your mind. Or you can think about it that I do believe the church is the great preventative of the true oneness experiencing with God. And of course, the point of that arrow of prevention is the senior pastor, who I've said many times before, doesn't exist in the New Testament, and that is not a coincidence that there's no senior pastor in the New Testament. And that's the one thing that really freaked the people out at the end of my public career, is the idea that they would no longer have a pastor. And the fact that that freaks people out shows you how false a concept it is. Paul's letter to the Galatians, chapter 5, verse 1, in the Old King James, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty wherewith Christ has made you free, and be not entangled again in the yoke of bondage." And what's the yoke of bondage? Well, for them, it was the dogma, the ritual, the guilt, the discipline, the authority of Jewish life and the Jewish temple. It is the same for us. It is the dogma, the ritual, the discipline, the obligation, the guilt, the submission, the authority of the institutional church. The institutional church has a maintenance problem. It needs people and money. And it will use, whether the people are aware of it or not, that is the leaders and the people on the inside and the followers, or whether anybody's aware of it or not, much will be done to maintenance that maintenance program. And I want to say to you that there is a relationship, an experiencing of God out of the church, which, if you've been in it all your life, I guarantee you've not had the love and bliss and joy of experiencing. So glad you're with me. We'll continue on. There's lots more to say on other videos and further chapters. Make sure you subscribe if you want to. Love to have you subscribing. You'll get the first notice of the videos if you subscribe. And make sure you come back and join me next time, right here, somewhere in the forests of north central eastern Arizona. So glad you were with me. Please come back, and I'll see you next time. Have a great day, and God bless you, everyone. Bye-bye.